Yes, sir, it's time. It might have taken 5 hours past the normal maintenance time, but we finally have the details for our Berserker Artoria caster, whatever you want to call her, Summer Castoria, whatever. This servant is actually looking really decent. I got the damage calcs. I got the details. Your boy is going to give you all the details for this servant, but however, this video is brought to you by Reverse 1999, a new gacha game that's going to be coming out later on this year that features a story about time going backwards. And if you guys know me, you guys know that I love my good old lore series, but even if that doesn't pique your interest, what if I told you that they're all British?
Relax, Regulus. I will tell you, but not here.
Now, the game actually does play a little bit like FGO. You might notice that it's a little bit familiar because you do have a squad of a couple of characters, and then you also have a certain number of cards that you're given at the beginning of your turn, but they can also consist of debuffs, buffs, or attacks for your party, and best of all, you can combine them to make them even stronger. Imagine if you had 2 Buster cards and you were able to combine them to make a Super Buster card that did even more damage. The story is also fully voice acted, so if you don't want to read, you can just listen to the characters talk to you in a fully English dubbed story. And then if you want to go ahead and read, you can go into your character screen, look at some of their details, look at their story, and even look over some of their voice lines. Even the battle lines are also fully voice acted. You could definitely tell that they put a lot of love and effort into this game, and it's still just in the beta. And before anybody asks, yes, I already found one of my wifey characters in this game, so I will definitely still be playing because they threw this in for what feels like just for me. So make sure you keep your eyes peeled for this game releasing later on this year. But with all that being said, let's go ahead and get back to our regularly scheduled programming. Now, it may actually surprise a lot of you guys to learn that this Castoria is actually not an AoE looper that's going to put Ibuki out of business. She's actually a single target art servant, and she actually puts up a surprising amount of damage despite the lack of buffs that she actually has. Again, we'll kind of get into the damage calcs a little bit later into this video, and I'll compare her to some other different servants and kind of show you where she's going to be hitting. But she has a very, very solid kit. Let's just start moving into some of her skills. So first and foremost, you're going to start seeing that she does have kind of a little bit of a crit niche. Now, you may be wondering, how is an art servant supposed to gen, crit stars? Well, she has a skill that can help her out with that, but if you do have Lady Avalon, or you can bring a friend Lady Avalon, that will basically function as the Arts Merlin that can kind of provide stars for you, especially if you can find one with, say, a 20-30 or something, and she will be able to put in a lot of work with that because not only does she have her own 50% crit damage buff that's on a 3 turn, but she also have a massive star weight over here that's going to allow her to just suck up all the stars, right? So she's going to be able to get all the stars, do massive crit damage, and give herself a 50% battery. Now, the reason that 50% battery is really crucial is that one Castoria with her first and second skill can give you 50%, and she can also give herself 50% on her own skill, meaning that if you need to use this servant for, say, a weird 90++ node, like you would use, say, Berserker Kentoki, where, he's really good at just taking out one, really big chunky enemy, you can actually use her for that as well. So not only is this really going to be good in, say, challenge quests or more difficult content, because she can crit people, suck up all the stars, get to her NP very, very quickly, but also, if you want to use her as kind of a wave clear for some of those really weird nodes, she also has a lot of value for that. So I really do like the skill. It's also on a nice 6-turn cooldown. I just think this is very, very nice. Now, we'll get to her being able to provide her own stars in a little bit, but next, we're going to see something that's a little bit more reminiscent of Castoria's original second skill, but it has a little bit of a Morgan twist to it. As we all know by this point that all Castorias and Morgans are kind of like all the same person, realistically. She's got the ability to give one ally 20% NP and overcharge that NP by not just one stage, but 2 stages. So just think about it. If you want to target a Castoria, the original caster one that you're using this Castoria with, you can give yourself 3 hits of solemn defense by overcharging their NP by twice, and then the whole party still gets the 20% NP gain for 3 turns. This is a really nasty skill because you can either use this for yourself to give yourself that little bit of extra NP that you need, or you can use it as a little bit of utility. Give it to, say, a Lady Avalon if you want the extra stars, give it to a Tamamo for the extra NP, or a Castoria that you're probably honestly going to be using with, you know, Summer Castoria over here to get the extra solemn defense. It has a lot of nice synergy. I'm not gonna lie, it does seem they kind of like built the two to really go very well together. I can't lie that it doesn't seem like they did that on purpose, but it does synergize very, very well. I think the skill is very, very strong with this overcharge of 2, because I think this is going to age very well, because even if it gets to a point where, say, Castoria eventually gets aged out of the meta. I don't know when that's going to happen because Castoria is just still very, very strong. But if they replace Castoria with another supremely just godly art support that has a good overcharge effect, this is still going to be very, very strong. So I do like what they did with this over here. Also, a neat little bit of interaction, I guess, is that you could give this to the Summer Morgan, because Summer Morgan lowers the cooldown of her 3rd skill, and if you want to be able to get to her 3rd skill faster, I guess this has some type of synergy with that. I guess if you're really reaching for like, hey, they finally gave a buff to the anniversary servant, I don't really think that's what was intended by this. I think it works a lot better with the original Caster Artoria, but hey, if you're like me and you don't have Koyan Sky, you don't have Oberon, and you're really coping to try to use Summer Morgan, I guess it works out for that. But then we have her 3rd skill. This is where we get kind of the little bit of that crit niche. So first and foremost, she's giving herself a massive 50% arts buff. We love to see that. But then she's also going to be refunding 10 stars every single turn for 3 turns, so she can kind of fund a couple of stars for herself. If you can find yourself a 20-30 to put on, say, one of your support Castorias or one of your Lady Avalons, it'll also be very nice for that. And she also has a little bit of extra survivability. Now, we all know that the art setups don't really need extra survivability because you have Castoria, who has targetable invincibility. Her own NP gives you solemn defense, but it is very nice that you have just extra layers upon layers of survivability going into this, and it does actually allow her to do some pretty good damage. Now, finally, I just want to jump into the NP, because this is where a lot of the crazy damage comes in. This is where things start to get a little bit nuts. Not only does she have a very nice 6 hits on her NP, which she does kind of need because her, NP gain down here is not super great, but she has 3 damage mods. She has 3 different damage mods. I don't know if they gave her enough, but they were like, hey, you know how Castoria and Morgan are kind of the same servant? Well, what if we just gave them both 3 damage mods? So she can hit Chaotic, Divine, and Threat Against Humanity. Now, Chaotic and Divine are the lower ones. They're 50 to 100% depending on your NP level, but Threat Against Humanity, this is the Big Mac Daddy one. It's 150%. And then on top of all of that, whenever she fires her NP as an art servant that likes to spam her NP all the time, she just gives everybody solemn defense for one time for one turn. Just an extra solemn defense that's flowing around. You almost have too much solemn defense going around with double Castoria in this servant. It gets a little bit ridiculous, right? So this servant is very, very strong, but let me show you just how strong she is without even any of the damage mods. So here's like kind of the damage calcs I did. Ignore that it's Ibaraki over here. Like we put in the same, attack value over here. It's just this attack value right here, but instead of it being just 12-1, we actually bumped it up with the foes, 900% NP modifier because, single target arts. We just gave her 50% arts buff, and yeah, she's able to hit a very good metric of damage over here. An average of 44k, that puts her around Melusine's level of damage without damage mods. So, like, if you've ever used an NP1 Melusine, NP1 Galatea, that's kind of where she'll be hitting normally, which doesn't sound maybe all that impressive, because at least Melusine may not do a whole lot of damage, but she can spam her NP a lot, right? She can do like NP after NP after NP, but Galatea is a little less impressive, right? Like Galatea seems to not do all that much damage, but that's without any damage mods. Keep in mind that she has 3 very, very good damage mods. She's got Chaotic, Divine, and Threat Against Humanity, which the original Castoria is also going to be able to kind of help her out with her own Threat Against Humanity buff that she's got going on. But yeah, this servant is looking very, very strong. Not the most broken dummy nutty servant I've ever seen, but she does look very, very solid. Like, if you do need a good single target art servant, she will put in the work for you. Like, she's a berserker, you can bring her to most stages, very good damage mod, just good generic kit that also kind of somewhat supports the party, works very well with the original Castoria. This servant does seem very good. Is she a must summon? I'm not gonna say that if you're missing out on this servant, your account's gonna be complete garbage, right? Like, it's not gonna be anything like that, but this is a very, very strong servant, and I do know that you guys can be expecting to see me pull for this servant on stream in the next couple of days. That's going to be in the description down below. I stream every weekday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, although obviously maybe not today, because it's 10:30 in the morning. Who knows when this video is going to go up? Your boy might need some sleep. But with all that being said, I'm going to go ahead and go to bed. You guys have yourselves a nice day, and good luck on your rolls if you are going to roll for this servant. I just hope that I'm able to get her later on today.